welcome to another episode of the Drexel SEMO Show, where we're here to make sure that you rise up and take your position. Today we are going to talk about autism. I know we had this topic before, but we're going to talk about it again because we just cannot just talk about it once. It seems like there's an increase in autism. I was speaking to someone earlier and they was talking about it used to be 1 in 35 children, now it's like 1 in 27 children being born who are autistic. And here at the Turks and Caicos Islands, there's limited avenue whereby we could, where these children can progress and become the citizens that God created them to be. However, our guest today is Angela Williams. She has a daughter who's autistic, and that drove her to establish the Ashley Learning Center. And we want to hear more about that from Angela. But before we do that, I want Angela to, tell us who is Angela Williams. Tell us about you.
Okay.
And welcome to the Drexel SEMO Show. Thank you so much. I really am thankful for this opportunity. I'm thankful for this opportunity very much.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here. I watch the show regularly.
Thank you.
And it's amazing what you do and what you share
Thanks.
with the community. Again, my name is Angela Williams. I am a mother of 3, and I have a daughter who's 11 years now, and she has autism. So I will share with you my journey on when I found out that she had a special needs. She was around 3 or 4 when I realized that she wasn't speaking. I mean, I didn't think that she had any disabilities because she had 10 fingers, 10 toes, she could walk.
Yeah, all the physical features.
All the physical features were there. So everything else, I thought it was something that she would grow out of. And then when I realized that children her age were speaking and some of the behaviors that I couldn't manage, I realized that I needed to take her for some evaluation and help. When I did that, they confirmed that some of those obsessive, over-compulsory behaviors was something with someone that has autism. I couldn't recall hearing that word before, so I said autism, and then they say that she had to get further diagnosis. So that is when my journey started in my field of the future for my daughter. So I had evaluated here with a group of specialists that came in the country, and they gave me a long report. I didn't quite understand everything, but I knew that she had moderate autism. And that's when I couldn't believe. I mean, my daughter, why my daughter? How my daughter?
Why you?
Why me? That was my question. And I know I can pause here and say, a lot of parents find themselves in a situation, and the community calls it denial, that we as parents are in denial of our children have some concerns. But that is a true and a false statement because, yes, in a sense, denial is a part of a process of accepting anything trauma that happens to you, not only when you lost a loved one, but also when you find that you have a situation that you cannot cure or it's long-term. And so you deny, why me? What did I do? I'm not going to accept this because, I have faith. I believe she'll get over this. But so that was a process that I did go through in believing that she couldn't have what the doctor said she had. So I had her.
How long you went through the process of saying that?
I think I was in denial of that. I had her evaluated 3 times. I went again to get a second opinion on that, and they said the same thing. And then I went again somewhere different a 3rd time to say, okay, well, maybe she could be cured. I mean, check her brain, check to see what's wrong. And that was almost like 6 months probably. And that I was in that stage. But then when you accept something, you have to do something.
Yeah.
So once I accept that my daughter had a condition that I had to deal with, I knew I had to do something. I just couldn't sit there and do nothing.
Right. Because if you don't do anything, then nothing will happen.
Right.
You know.
Right. And that's why we see some people or parents, because they know there will be no other avenue for them, they're stuck in that stage of, nothing is wrong with my daughter. They will get better. But, people say that about us in the community, that special needs parents are in denial. I always say denial is part of any process of grieving,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Some people stay there longer than others. So I am grateful that I didn't end up staying there too long. And then once I get a third diagnosis that was a condition, that's when I realized that, I had to do something, And that's when my journey about praying about it, what I'm going to do. And I had faced like all parents,
Of course.
you sometimes, and then depression also is a part of that process, You want your child to die before you. You don't want to leave your child suffering and don't know how family members or society will
Because
care.
nobody takes care of a child like you anyway.
Yeah. Then that. So all of that was part of the journey of having a child diagnosed
Is she your last
with a
child?
condition. Yes, she is. And my only daughter. I have 2 boys.
Okay.
And so after that, I came to the reality that, I'm going to do something. And that's when you pick yourself up and find that extra strength that you didn't know you have. And then when I did that, I prayed. I could remember I was sitting by myself at work one day, and I was crying. I said, out of all the time I need someone the most, I'm alone. Why would the Lord do that to me?
Wow.
I'm alone. I was contemplating moving to the U.S. Because to give her special assistance. Access, yes. Because I've been taking her periodically for therapy, and they said to me that coming twice a year isn't sufficient. She needed all sorts of therapy, feeding therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral therapy, speech therapy, and a small classroom size. And so when I heard that and I was deciding to move, I sat at my computer to research the best states to accommodate children with special needs. And that's being alone. I felt this hand on my shoulder, this pressure on my shoulder. I knew I was alone. And because of that, I said, I'm not even going to look around. And I heard a voice say, stay and help the other children. And
that's interesting. That's awesome.
I couldn't move, and I started to cry, and I said, I don't even know how to help my own daughter. How can I stay and help others? And then quickly the story with Jonah, the whale, came to mind, that if God tells you to do something, there is no way you can run.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to bargain. If I stay, and do this for the other children, my daughter would need to get the therapeutic services and the access that she would have if I had gone somewhere else. And I said, my next request is, I'll give it my all, but I don't want to lose my 2 boys. Because I knew there was a work that I was going to start that was bigger than me.
Right.
That I didn't even know how to start it. And so that's where my journey with starting Ashley's Learning Center. The full name is Extraordinary Minds Ashley's Learning Center.
Is Ashley the name of your daughter?
Her name is Ashley.
Okay.
But Extraordinary Minds, I named it that because even in my prayer and working with Ashley and Odyssey and other children before the school had a name, they're extraordinary. I had this dream where I said, I wanted her to be ordinary. And I said, Lord, I said, make her ordinary. I said, why you want me to make her ordinary when I made her extraordinary? And that's what
I
is
love
extraordinary about her.
love that.
I was like, what is extraordinary about her? And then I said, her mind. And then that's how I got the name Extraordinary Mind. And my mom said, if you put Ashley's name in the name of the school, you would always remember, what are you fighting for?
I
and
love
so
it.
that is how
And you're also
I
speaking
came
into existence.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, in existence. And then I started the journey. I remember the first day when I started the school, I put flyers on all the vehicles at the hospital, the airports, at IGA, asking people, if you have a special needs child, if you know someone, let them come out, let us start the talk, let us start brainstorming how we're going to help our children. And I remember it was March 20th, 2015 when I started.
Oh, wow. So that's...
Yeah, 6.5 years ago. On that same day that I started the school that morning, I was going to have to open in the afternoon. Someone who lived in my apartment and a friend of mine, next door neighbor, had a heart attack and died in the apartment.
Sorry to hear that.
And I was opening the school that day. And I could remember I fell to the ground, fled to the ground when they was moving his body. And I was crying, and I heard a voice say, get up, you have work to do. And that's when I realized that I'm about to do something that I probably wasn't prepared for it, or something that was bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I got up and I opened the school that day.
Yeah.
And I remember only about 10 persons showed up, a few people, family members, church members, and about 2 parents. And I thought I had failed. And everybody...
You felt you had failed?
Yes. I felt like I had failed. I felt that I didn't know what I was getting into. But I knew one thing. I heard a voice tell me, stay and help the other children. And, and I know who my God is.
Yes.
And so I stayed. And it wasn't easy. So it started, and then later I had 3 other children, it was 4 of us. We came together, and I remember I never used to sleep. I would go sleep 2 o'clock in the morning, because if I was going to do it, and I'm saying I'm doing it because I heard the Lord tell me to do it, I know I had to do it.
And you also had a full-time job, didn't you?
Yes, I had a full-time job, running the school, 3 kids. I was married at the time, and I also had other little businesses that I was trying out, and property management, etc. And I reached out to a gentleman in the U.S., online, asking for persons who would come down at a course to help and set up a special needs school. And this is where I know that the Lord was with me.
Yeah.
Because a gentleman replied, and he sent me his CV, and he developed special needs schools throughout the U.S. for over 40 years. And the 3 other parents who were with me, we invited him down. And when he was coming down, I remember my husband at the time said to me, you don't know who you're bringing into the country. You don't know if this could be a pedophile or so. And I remember saying to myself, that's a chance I'm willing to take.
Yeah.
And when he came down, we are friends to this day.
Wow.
And he made a major impact in the School of
So he set it up. He set the school up.
Yes, he did a proposal on what it would need to run it. He came back several times, and he brought his family, volunteer, paying the school. He paid for our website and maintained it. He was great assistance. He also allowed his son and friends to come down from Juilliard to put on a concert for us to raise money.
Okay.
Because he said that what are you doing in this country will make a lasting impact. He said, I see it all the time. And then I advertised regionally, and I hired teachers from other Caribbean countries, mostly Trinidad, with bachelor's and master's in special education, and along with other teachers who specialize in this area. And I work along with Dr. Michael Powers. He is the assistant clinical director at Yale University. Also, he has a center for children with special needs out in Connecticut. And he has partnered with me with providing specialists
That's
to
a
come
great
down.
network to have.
Yes. They used to fly down a team every other month to assess the children and train staff.
And you don't pay them for that?
No, pro bono. We are only responsible for on-ground assistance. That's hotel transportation and meals.
That's awesome.
Yes. I'm thinking about it. I don't know how we did it for nearly 5 years, but we have done that for nearly 5 years. They pay their own airfare and they assist.
Yeah.
Even the other gentleman that I mentioned earlier, he lends me his staff as well, his occupational therapist and speech therapist, and he said, I will send them to work with you in the Turks and Caicos, and I'll pay their salary here in the U.S. And so...
Well, God is using you to help others.
Yes.
He's using you to help others. I've seen other people who started stuff and it didn't continue. You've been here now almost 6.5 years.
Yes.
I think that's great progress.
Yes. And the school is fully nonprofit. I mean, I'll just say this, and just in regards to explaining, how we survive and maintain ourselves. I always say that, I'm a parent first with a special needs child, and so I am in the same shoe of every parent who shows up there with their children. So tuition or financial gain from parents is not what operates the school. What operates the school is the generosity from the community and people who come down and work with us and support us. I sure know what miracle looks like. And I always ask myself, like I said earlier, I used to ask myself, why me? Why Ashley? And I answer always was, why not you?
Yeah.
Why not Ashley?
Yes. So I'm glad that you rose up to the occasion and you're making a difference. How many students are at the Ashley Learning Center?
Right now, we service 32 children.
Oh, wow.
32.
Is that your maximum capacity? Is there any room for is there any space for additional children?
No, that's our maximum right now. And that is divided into 2 shifts because we go from 8 in the morning until 2. And then we do 3 to 6 with a different group of children in the afternoon to accommodate the month we had. That allow us to keep the class size small because we know progress with children who need a lot of individualized attention is one-on-one.
Yes.
And so that's why, and we want results, you know.
Definitely.
Like I mentioned.
And it's Monday to Fridays.
Mondays to Fridays, yes. And I mean, every time, by the time we meet our max, it's a cry and a demand for us to expand. So now I'm in the process of getting more staff because, for the full 6 years, it was always a waiting list. For 6 years, we had a waiting list. And so we have a waiting list now. So I'm trying to bring in more staff, And that has always been my fear because of always growing. And now I'm taking on this more financial responsibility. And then I'm praying,
And you're no longer full-time. I saw that you resigned or retired from your full-time job.
Yes.
That shows your commitment as well.
Yes.
You're now dedicated to ensuring the success of the school.
Yes. And I'll tell you about that. From the day I opened the school, I know I always felt that burning desire in my stomach that this was something that I was supposed to go into.
Okay.
And then sometimes I'm here now and asking the Lord in repentance and asking for forgiveness that, it took me that long.
But that's okay. You didn't, you didn't know at that time.
Yeah.
The thing is that you have now, are doing it. That's what's important.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
I knew that, and so I left, and I remember a few times, and I consult people, and I said, I gotta leave, I got
Yeah.
to leave,
Yeah.
because I didn't have a part-time school. I had a
Full-time.
full-time from 8 to 5 or 6.
That's the same time you work.
In the same time I work. So I would have to take my lunch break. First thing in the morning, 7 o'clock, I got to be in the school. The minute time I get lunch break, immediately after I get off. And I'm so grateful. I always ask the Lord, send me the right help.
That's
Because I needed people who believe in my vision. And we were always, that's what I did, get a buy-in from the staff and from the parents. And so once we are going the same direction, and they trust where I was leading them. So they didn't have a problem when we were having a staff meeting at 8, 9 o'clock in the night, because I've been working all day, and I got to go home, do homework. So they said, allow me. And I mean, they're grateful. I'm glad they said, we're here.
Yeah.
Our families are home.
Yeah.
And so we would put in the extra time that you need.
Yeah.
And I said, thank you. The Lord send the right people
He does.
at the
He
right
does.
time.
He does.
Yeah.
You give you a vision and you run with it, you will not fail. Now, I watch, you used to do videos. I don't know if you still do. And one of your videos, you were interviewing the mother who has a child that was blind. So it seems to me that your school is catering to everybody.
Yes.
Because, a diverse group of
Yes.
students. Because
Yes.
you also have the blind there.
Yes. Yes, it's very diverse with the challenges that we have. We have, a student that is blind. We have children with cerebral palsy that can walk. Majority have autism, where the most common obvious challenge is speech delay and behavioral challenge. And then we have children that has Down syndrome. And if I was to share something about, because I mentioned behavioral challenge, this can help educate the public, is that, for many, even growing up, we all encountered where children were called rude.
Yes.
And I know I express a lot, and from my learning and working with professional and have a school for 6.5 years, is that very few children are rude. I mean, these are behaviors displayed because of some cause. And we can't treat the behavior. You have to first treat the cause. What is causing that child to act out? Communication for us is the main thing that we see with children that we face with behaviors. Because if you and I are sitting here and we're not communicating and dialoguing with each other, understanding, one of us might get frustrated.
Absolutely.
And when children can't speak, they can't even tell you simple commands that they want. They get frustrated because they can get your attention,
Yeah.
And that is the only means of communication they know.
Yeah.
And so communication is a learned behavior.
Yeah.
And once we find means that we can teach the child to express themselves, their wants, their needs, their feelings, their emotion, we see that lessons. And you can imagine a 3-4-year-old trapped and everything around them, the world is moving, but they are at a disadvantage because they can't communicate. And so that's where we find, and I would say to parents and caregivers and anyone who work with children or encounter this, is that be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient. And give the child or the situation the benefit of the doubt on why is this happening. And that is something that even us in society, have to understand and accept.
Yes.
We see children running behaving, and it's because of situations that no one was able to address. I remember I had an incident where I took my daughter to the supermarket. And another thing, sometimes we as parents do know how to address it. And my daughter ran on the floor kicking and screaming because she wouldn't want to leave, you know, because for her, if she leaves, she doesn't know when she's coming back, if she's coming back, if this is a permanent place, you know. And she laid on the floor and she kicked and screamed. And I didn't know how to handle that situation, you know. And my first reaction, what do I do for people who are looking and staring to realize that I am in control, I am a parent, and this child is not rude, you know. And that was a difficult and challenging moment for me, because I could hear people talking. You see,
take this child in the house and, you know, that was my
and
child.
they let it rule children. Like, this is my child.
I would do this, you know. People just judge a lot of times, actually. Angela, based on your research, it seems like you did a lot of research. Based on your research, what are some of the top causes of autism?
Yes, based on my research, some of what I think is top causes is very controversial. I mean, even among professionals. And when I brought it up to them, they didn't like that because, you know, you can steer people in so many different directions. But, you know, we're living in modern times, and we are seeing modern diseases and modern changes in human behavior overall. But I do have an idea and things that are causing it. Like right now, I used to see one parent coming to me a month. I'm seeing one parent every other day with a special needs child, and parents with children, more than one child, that have a challenge. And, you know, I do have my thoughts on that, but it's very controversial. And the talk of it now that without, you know, any professional qualification to say it, you know, but it is on the rise, and it's becoming a concern that Turks and Caicos should not for a second turn a blind eye on, because our society is changing, and sadly to say, every family will be able to relate to it pretty soon.
I believe
and
so.
that's a sad reality. So sometimes when people ask me, how is the school going? You know, it's growing in numbers, but that's not a good thing. That's not, you know, the growth for me is not good. You know.
Right. Thank you again for all you're doing. I mean, what do you think we as a community can do? I think you're the only school that is catered for autism in Turks and Caicos, as far as I know. I read and listened to a press conference by the government where they stated that they have special needs teachers in each of the 14 schools that they have. It will be in their public schools. Based on your understanding of what is best for special needs, what do you think we need to do as a community, including the government? What do you think we need to do to ensure that we are taking care of special needs children, that we are treating them properly, that they are a priority, that we're not just putting them on the side and just putting them in the classroom, but that they're being treated and with a desire to make a difference in their lives?
Okay. Well, we have the SNAP Center that also...
Oh, yes, I forgot about that.
Right, that also caters to children with special needs. We know that the capacity is very limited by the physical space, and I can't say to other reasons. And then you have me that has 30-something children. But in terms of us as a society, I remember when I was feeling my way around and trying to get information, I was kind of bitter, and I was kind of angry even with myself that living in this society that what role did I even play to ensure that services and facilities and this issue was addressed. You know, I didn't know much about it until it hit my doorsteps. And then, you know, then I realized that half the time I was blaming people or a situation who was not even knowledgeable about, how dire the situation was. And so that was why one of my goal I knew was to bring awareness that you can have people pumping money here and there, but if we're no better off in terms of knowledge and being educated about the situation,
Absolutely.
I mean, we haven't changed much.
True.
And so I realized that children with special needs, when they go in the supermarket, the hospitals, school, in church, wherever they go, people had to be aware and understanding of their condition, you know. Other than that, special needs children around the world and right here in Turks and Caicos are abused. You know, they are victims, and it's sad.
Abuse physically?
Physically
Verbally?
abused,
Oh, okay.
physically, verbally abused, and then there's
wow.
societal abuse.
Oh, wow.
And it is even bad here in the Turks and Caicos. I
Really?
mean, the average person wouldn't know about it is because, you know, any offense
not
to
public
children,
knowledge, I guess, and-
offense to children are kept, you know,
Right.
more
Oh,
thing.
wow.
But
What a shame.
in the Turks and Caicos, it is bad.
Yeah.
It is bad. You know, whether you're in school, you're abused by, bullied by children or people who you're supposed to trust and care for you. You know,
That is so
that was
wow.
a part of me too, not only doing the school, but also coming face to face with the dark side of Turks and Caicos. As much as I see good and I got a lot of support, I still see those sides.
Bad stuff.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it is. But also to the other part of your question, I mean, you know, society has to play a part because we shape it.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to ensure that all areas, the young, the old, the needy, that everyone is
Every
catered
sector.
to because you are not as successful, you're not as rich or high end, no more than the least person among you. And that's how I see it. I mean, how successful are we as Turks and Caicos when we have children who aren't getting basic services?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what are we calling, how are we measuring success
That's
if we
absolutely-
have that in
you're
society?
absolutely right.
So when you are trying to build a successful nation, you go in all the corners and you see where there are deficits and you address that. And once you start to address that, then you can consider yourself a society that is on the path
I
of
like
being
that.
successful.
I like that response. My final question, there's a lot of controversy about special needs and the lack thereof. And I saw where a lot of people made some comments that special needs children need to be in a traditional classroom setting. What do you say about that?
When I first hear that, my first thing is that, we know, like big places like America went that route with that. And that children being with their peers, even when they're special needs, it is a benefit to the country because the peers get to understand and tolerate them for that purpose. So when you go, you don't have that separation and isolation that now they can develop and have an understanding because they become lawmakers and policymakers.
Because they live with it,
they live with it, they interact with it. With that part, I do support it. But then there's the other side that, are we ready for that? You have to be ready and be prepared to do that. Because if you're just going to go with that statement and put children in a society that is not prepared to cater for them, you are not doing that child justice. Because they still will get lost in the system and lost with being abused because there aren't anything to cater to them. And so that was one of the reasons why I'm kind of glad that My daughter is in a traditional, she's not in a traditional school, you know, she's in Ashley's Learning Center, but every day she shows up, she's getting the attention that
Yes.
she needs
Yes.
to succeed.
Yes.
And some children with me who came to me, I had a boy, he was put out of a traditional school because they couldn't manage him. And we took him and we worked with him. And he is now in a high school in the U.S. And I said, to me, I pat myself on the back because I feel, yes. So what we're doing, we're working. If a traditional school couldn't handle him and put him out, and we took him, you know. And
Awesome.
the thing with me, and I am grateful that the Lord gave me the passion, the desire, and the patience that every one of the children became mine. I remember someone saying to me, and I didn't even realize it, and she said, I saw you interact with some children and some little girls, and I couldn't tell which one was yours.
That is great.
Yeah.
That is
They
great.
couldn't tell
That is
which
great.
daughter was my
That is
daughter.
great. That is great.
You know, and
Awesome.
so I was grateful for that because, you know, that's what I aim on. I remember when I started, and my daughter's father said to me, he said, you don't need all of this for Ashley. And I said to him, I stopped doing this for her a long time ago.
It's about others.
Yeah, it's about the other children. I
That is
stopped
so
doing
great.
that.
I just wish more of us would have that attitude. You know, just thinking beyond ourselves, thinking about how we can make a difference in other people's lives. And that's why I do this show as well, you know, to, you know, educate people, inspire people, to encourage people to look beyond yourself.
Right.
Well, Angela, I just want to thank you for the contribution that you're making to our country, for the contribution you're making to special needs. And I know it's natural to question why me, but I think you've gone beyond that now. I think you realize now why God has allowed it to happen to you, because you're helping others.
Yeah.
There are many other people who have special needs children, but you're the one that's leading in the forefront here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So Angela, thank you very much, and thank you for being on the Drexel SEMA show. And I hope at the end of the show that people will be more aware, they would appreciate. And I hope at the end of the show too that our government will spend more on special needs. And I hope that parents will also come out more and not be afraid, you know, to talk about special needs and ensure that their children get the success they need. Do you have any closing remarks?
Okay. Yes, what I would say is that first I would speak to parents, because the numbers are rising. I would say to them that, you know, don't give up, you know, don't give up. You know, there's always a starting place for everybody,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
and your child needs you to believe in them. You're going to have your rough days, and don't get frustrated. Don't take it out on your children. If you need to step back and breathe, yes, it will change. I know my daughter wasn't talking at the age of 5, and doctors said to me, you know, that shouldn't even be my worries. My dream should be that my daughter learn how to tie her shoelace. But I said to that doctor, that dream isn't big enough for mother. You know, I'm going to dream bigger for her. So parents, don't give up, you know. God have the last say.
Yeah.
And I know prayer and fasting change things.
Yeah.
And so if you do that and put in the work and put in the time, you know, it's your new reality, you know, and find yourself in your path, and you and your child will be okay.
Yeah.
The other day, my daughter's 11 now, couldn't talk when she was 5, but said, I'm going to university.
Aww.
And I said,
Aww.
if you believe it, I'm going to make sure
That's
it
right.
happens.
Believe
you
with
know?
her.
Yes, I believe it, her. And to the society and the country in Turks and Caicos that we live in, we need you. We need your support, you know. Today is me. We don't know who's going to be tomorrow. So if we all band in and stuff like that, and do our part, we're not changing Turks and Caicos for me. We're changing Turks and Caicos for us.
Yes.
So I am going to keep on doing
Yes.
all I can do, and I am now grateful that the Lord used me.
Yes.
It wasn't easy, believe you me.
I believe you.
It was not easy, but I am glad now, and I say all that, if people ask me what I would need the most to continue, you might think I might say money, but I will say the support. When people show up and say, how can I help, how things are going, it tells me and other parents that we're not alone.
Yeah.
And that is, money can't buy that.
Yeah.
So, I thank everyone who support the school, who support me locally and internationally. It gives me hope that I will live long enough to see the change.
Yeah. Thanks again, Angela.
Thank you.
You've been watching the Drexel Seymour Show, and I encourage all of you out there with autistic children, or people that you know have autistic children, to not just stay where you are, to rise up and allow your children to take their position. And you can do this through the Ashley Learning Center. That's a start. She doesn't have any space right now, but I believe if more of us come together and we are able to support her through donations to get more teachers and get more space, and it's there. Don't keep your child down because your child is autistic. There are autistic people in the world who are changes, who are world changers.
Yes.
You too can be it. Just rise up and take your position.